Good morning. I am Kevin Price. Delighted to be with you. Going to spend some time talking to you about you and your business. Going to go straight to our first guest because we have a lot to cover. He's a Price of Business contributor. He's a regular feature on this program, and he is Benjamin Jurken of the ABC Group, which is a phenomenal partner for businesses in trying to work with countries like China in importing and getting products for selling here domestically. And Benjamin, as always, glad to have you on the program. Tell us a little bit about yourself and, more importantly, on the ABC Group before you introduce us to your guest.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
You
to
bet.
answer your question, the ABC Group is a consulting firm offering advisory and commercial services to small and mid-sized companies looking to engage in business throughout mainland China. We're headquartered in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and have a liaison office in Guangzhou. We currently have approximately 30 clients with active and ongoing programs based throughout the United States.
Awesome. And your guest today. And it looks like a great one, by the way.
Well, I agree. Today we have Damian Felton, who is the field director in Milwaukee for the U.S. Commercial Services. I've actually worked with Damian on a few projects, and I really would like to introduce him to the audience.
Very good. Go right ahead.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
Glad to have you. Why don't you kind of start with your elevator speech about yourself and the work that you do in this domain area?
Sure. Well, I'm based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, working for the U.S. Commercial Service, which is a part of the U.S. Department of Commerce. It's a federal-level agency, and we work with primarily small, medium-sized companies to help them exporting. And as Benjamin mentioned, that's kind of when I came to know the ABC Group and the good work that they do for their clients in China.
Very good. Benjamin, your first question?
I was wondering, Damian, the U.S. Commercial Services is a global organization. Can you just briefly explain your mission and really how expansive your global reach is?
Sure. So I mentioned earlier the U.S. Commercial Service is a federal-level agency. It's the lead export promotion agency for the federal government. We consist of about 1,400 trade professionals around the world. We have a little over 100 offices here in the United States. We have about 128 offices at our embassies and consulates overseas in more than about 75 countries. We work primarily, as I mentioned before, with small and medium-sized companies to provide them with trade counseling. An example of that would be helping the companies understand and navigate U.S. export regulations and control laws. We also provide them market intelligence. We have something called the U.S. Country Commercial Guide, which is a great starting point for a company that's interested in exploring international business in a particular market. It's a guide, typically about 50 to 75 pages, from a U.S. company's perspective on how to do business in that respective foreign country. We also do a lot of matchmaking for companies and helping them find and locate channel partners overseas, and we can also provide assistance with commercial diplomacy, interacting with a foreign government.
Let me ask you, Damian, how do you determine whether or not someone's a good partner for companies here?
That's a great question. Our typical client profile is a small, medium-sized company that's currently exporting. Most companies that export are actually small to medium-sized companies. It's about 98% of U.S. exporters are small to medium-sized companies, but they only account for a relatively small percentage of export value. And there's a disparity between the large companies that export and the small and medium-sized companies that export, because the large companies typically are exporting to 5 or more countries, whereas the small and medium-sized guys are typically exporting to only 1 or 2 markets. So our client profile is tapping into those small and medium-sized companies that are already exporting and helping them get into their second, their third, or their fourth market.
Yeah, very good. Benjamin?
No, Damian, as you mentioned, the U.S. Commercial Services offers a lot of different products and tools for exporters. Is there one product or service that stands above the rest as being the most popular, and if so, why is it the most popular?
Sure. Probably our most impactful service and popular service deals with matchmaking. It's something called the Gold Key service. As I mentioned to you before, the biggest asset for our organization is our overseas network. These offices are staffed by commercial specialists, which are native to the country that they're working in. The benefit to working with these folks is that they know firsthand the market, the business practices, the native language, as well as English, and who all the major players are in a particular sector or industry. We use these commercial specialists, these foreign nationals, and their connections to provide our matchmaking services. We look at a company and essentially ask them what their wish list is. What kind of target company do they want to partner with? And when you have someone from the U.S. government walk in to the target company's door with their business card and say, I'm representing a U.S. company, I'm from the U.S. government, right away that target partner knows that this U.S. company is serious. And so essentially our matchmaking capabilities, knocking on doors for companies and using that U.S. flag and seal really can be quite effective for small and medium-sized companies.
Yeah, very good, very good. By the way, real quickly, what is the best website? Is that export.gov/Wisconsin? Is that your best website?
Yeah, I'd say the best website is actually just export.gov. And if a company is looking to make...
the audience is everywhere. So, yeah, export.gov. And then Benjamin's website is theabcgroupllc.com. Your next question, Benjamin.
Damian, for the companies out there that might be debating whether or not to sell outside the United States or even to sell to another foreign market, is there one piece of advice you could offer for a first-time exporter or somebody looking to maybe go into that second foreign market?
Sure. I'd say, whether it's a first-time company, a second-time, or a third-time company, any company, no matter how experienced they are with international business, should have some sort of international business strategy that lists their top target markets. There's multiple reasons for why to have a strategy or a list of countries, but first and foremost, it helps companies provide some rationale for their decisions and demonstrates their commitment to developing international channels of distribution. I would say that a strategy doesn't have to be very complex, full of predictive economic indicators, GDP, the list goes on and on. Rather, just a strategy just needs to be as simple as listing perhaps the countries where they've received the most web hits or order inquiries. And once they have that list of countries, the company can start working toward determining market viability for their product in those specific countries. It's also very helpful to have this strategy for continuity purposes. When you have employees that leave, it's always helpful to have kind of, a list or a guide for the next person that's kind of filling their place for where and why they were conducting international business.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And how big is this getting, Damien, in terms of businesses wanting to engage with overseas countries like China for their products? How big has this gotten in recent years?
I mean, it's been quite large, quite exciting. Most companies that have been in business here domestically, selling domestically, and Benjamin knows this and works with many of these companies, you need to diversify your clients essentially, and the smart companies that want to stay in business are looking towards foreign markets to diversify their channels and to increase their customers. And so we've seen, I think, quite an increase in companies over the last several years, 4 to 5 years, looking towards international business and exporting to help sustain their businesses.
Got to wrap it up with your final thoughts, Benjamin, before we end it.
Sure. Well, I just really like to thank Damian for taking some time today and sharing his insight. And I strongly urge any company looking to export, either it's for the first time or for a second or third foreign market, to really investigate everything that the U.S. Commercial Service offers U.S. companies.
No question about it. People should do their homework. And when you have a tremendous resource like the Department of Commerce, I would strongly recommend it. Damian Felton, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
We enjoyed it. Well, I'm sure we'll have you back on in the future. I'm Kevin Price. When we come back, we're going to have much more for you. I do want to remind you, best content here shows up over there at usdatareview.com, and this is The Price of Business.